Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
You have done your work, you have put us to the wall. We are not the slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
It's a delight always to be here on Global Morning. I'm Muya Agmofwe. Welcome you very specially to the program. In a bit, very shortly, you'll meet my colleague Queen Agaba. But just to let you know that today it's another opportunity for us to put on the road full throttle very, very salient issues, all right, particularly those that directly affect us back at home. This whole week has been very dramatic, I mean, in ways that are not pleasant at all for the Nigerian economy, especially the foreign exchange segment of it. We've seen the dollar go berserk, for want of better words, whether it's the official market or the autonomous market, popularly called the parallel market or the black market. But the challenge with that has been the particular concern around the official rates, which had climbed over 1,400 naira to the greenback just 2 days ago. And that is not only a problem for the economy overall, it is particularly disturbing and embarrassing how that we can get to this point with regards to our foreign exchange regime. Recall that before now we had seen and had been told that there was need for us to merge all the Forex or FX windows, whether it was I&E, the one for those who go to buy, refined crude and get to import crude or refined petroleum products, or for those who are paying tuition for their children and wards abroad, and so on and so forth. We've seen policy tweaks here and there between when you had former CBN Governor Emefiele, who is now embattled, by the way, and then fast forward to now that you have Dr. Olayiwomi Cardoso at the helms. But in between that, we also had Shonobi, who acted for a while, about a couple of months, all right, under the leadership of President Tinubu. We've seen these gentlemen introduce so much of policies, particularly as it has to do with the FX market. In the middle of all that, it is also a concern, very significant one at that, given that you now find even airline operators and other foreigners who have invested in this country talking almost every other day about the obligation of the CBN to them with regards to FX repatriation. That has also been very concerning. However, in the last couple of days, the CBN has formally come out to say, look, we have settled all this obligation. But the persons to whom this obligation is concerned have said, well, the CBN is still indebted as well. So the tune of at least $700 million. Now, that may not sound like a whole lot of money, but it is within context, because as of today, the Naira continues to get weakened against the US dollar. Now, when you take a deep breath, the natural question to ask is, what are the immediate and remote causes of how we got here? All right, what are the specific things that must be done in terms of the monetary policies of this country to be able to fix this problem? Recall that on the 29th of May, while he was being inaugurated, President Bola Tinubu had said very categorically that the fiscal policy and the monetary policy frameworks need a fix. He said there needs to be a house cleaning. That was the term he used. But how much have we cleaned this house so far is left to be seen. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu is all the way in Paris, France, where we understand he's on a private visit. So what exactly is happening back at home on the FX front? Well, we continue to watch and see how it pans out. We'll give you an insight into how it closed yesterday, what the dynamics have been this week for the third day running as far as business is concerned. We also want to stretch the conversation further and, of course, take a look at agriculture. Recall that at a point, some months ago in 2023, having been made president, the President Bola Tinubu has said, look, there has to be some drastic measures taken with regards to the agri sector. And one of the things that the government had done at that time was to declare states of emergency. The question is, as of today, how much of results have we seen by way of bringing change, making a difference within the agricultural space? We'll be joined by someone who has spent virtually his entire career not just talking about agriculture, but practicing within this very critical space. We want to bring you all of that conversation this morning. We also want to take a look at the papers for you, bring you big headlines, and just give you an insight into where the news is heading as we begin the first day of February. And again, time flies, doesn't it? For those who said January has 52 days, I'm sure we all know better now. It does have 31 days, and it ended yesterday. So this is a new chapter. This is a new month, and it's also important that we continue to keep track of progress in 2024, particularly for those of us who are in the tradition of making New Year resolutions. Happy New Month, Queen.
Happy New Month.
Good to see you on the show again today.
Yeah, good to see you too. Interestingly, this month was pretty fast.
I mean, January?
January.
Right.
Oh, do you know, I
It's a new
still
month,
refer
yeah.
to this as January. Wow,
Right.
January was pretty fast. You know, they say January has 59 days and all that.
Some say 52. How did they do that math?
And I think that's because, you know, after the celebration and all that, you know, a lot of money goes into it. Has to come from the aspect of finance in terms
Right,
of,
apparently.
you know, you're exhausted all of your resources, you know, celebrating the Christmas and then the New Year.
We're busy
And
turning
then-
up.
And yes, and so, you know, when you are in that maybe lack, you now begin to see, oh, time is really not not moving
Fast enough.
fast enough. So you
Right.
just assume, you know, when you're in difficulty, it looks like you take longer when you're in a
Because you're under
difficult
pressure.
situation. Yes, you're under pressure, and so it looks like, you know. But I'm surprised to see that
It is actually 31 days.
it's actually 31 days and not 59 days.
Yes, it's
So
interesting.
Happy New Month.
Yeah, once again, thank you. I think the thing is, people get to misplace priorities a lot during festive periods, not just Christmas alone. But it will appear Christmas is the number one culprit on that list, because in the fun analysis, you realize that what you find is, for the most part, we just don't think Christmas is going to end, or that entire Yuletide, as we know it, is going to end. So we're spending, like they say in the South, you're spending loud, right? That means you're spending unrestrained, right? So you are not prioritizing, really. You're not even thinking of the year ahead, which is just going to be a matter of days from Christmas, right?
Christmas.
And then it's January, boom. For parents in particular, you need to pay tuition. God help you have a couple of children, all right? And then you have those you support, maybe your parents who are probably aged, who are not able to fend for themselves anymore, all right? Then you have to look out for yourself, and they have a truckload of plans for the year. There are
Exactly.
trainings you want to do. There's probably rent that is due. What else? You need to, maybe at that point.
Foodstuff.
Yes, of course.
Food,
People
very-
have to stay alive to plan and do all of the
know.
things that they have to do. So January brings a lot of pressure. In fact, some people dread January. But I think we should stay grateful to God that we are still here.
And then plan appropriately and adequately.
Yes,
and spend
prioritize,
yes,
right.
priority. You know, do not spend all of your resources on the celebration. I mean, celebration is only for a few days, and it's not even your birthday. You were not celebrating.
It's in you.
Of course, and then have a plan ahead. So I think
Right.
most of the reasons why people suffer or, you know, now begin to come in that state of lack and pressure is lack of planning, proper and adequate planning. And then you fail to prioritize what is most important at this point in time. Where should I, you know, put my money, put
Right.
my focus, and then look at the later part. I think in this part of the world, we do not pay adequate attention to the future. Now, what I mean is, on the in the short term, like next month, next week, and all that. You know, we just want to enjoy now.
Right.
Yeah, and at the expense of later.
There's a
So-
principle I like. I mean, it's a double-edged principle, so you have to pick what works for you and then live with the consequences of it, right? You either pay now and play later,
Play
or you
later.
play now and pay later, right?
Interesting.
Because you must understand that some things can wait, and by all means, there are things that have got to wait. Most times, those things that ought to wait, unfortunately, are the ones we want to pay attention to. So we throw in what I call our TME, time, money, and energy. Meanwhile, those things are the person that are supposed to be priority number one. We just abandon them, or we pay haphazard attention to them. In the end, they come back and bite us, and that can really hurt. But again, let's also know that you see, what cuts a metal, for those who do welding, I think they understand that principle better. I mean, it's a principle in physics, is that the welder focuses his heat on one spot consistently, right? So it is not necessarily the flame that cuts. It is two factors at play. The first is the heat. The second is the fact that the welder is smart enough to focus it on one spot over time, and then the metal splits, right? So what's the point with that? When you drill down, I mean, you narrow that down to real life issues, you realize that if you stay focused on what matters, because somebody said we have to keep the main thing, right? So it's not just about Christmas, it's not just about Salah or whatever celebration, what have you, but it has to be about every other area of life. For example, I've taken out time in the last couple of years to look at people who want to narrate, as it were, their journey to bagging first class. I mean, talking about academics. And you realize that most of them have one thing in common: sacrifice. Some of them have to forego, either entirely or in part, their social life. You know, others have to let go of certain kind of things. You don't want to eat late so you don't oversleep. You know, you don't want to hang out with certain kinds of friends. You don't want to be out at some point. You just know when to be at the library. You just know when to get what kind of text it is. You know when to read what kind of book it is. You know, you just prioritize. And this doesn't happen over a couple of weeks. Sometimes it's 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, depending on the factors at play, including strikes, for example, in the case of Nigerian universities. So the question is, for those who, I mean, what's the difference between the person who, for instance, craves or desires to bag a first class and ends up not bagging it, and the person who craves it, yearns for it, and eventually bags it? It's just commitment. It's just some level of self-denial. It's just knowing that some things can wait, while others probably have to be done like today. Again, comes down to one thing: play now, pay later, or pay later. I mean, play now,
and
or whatever.
Big thing, sacrifice.
Yes. No, sacrifice is the operative word, Queen, because what you find is, I mean, I'm on my way to work this morning. I'm just thinking, what make the biggest CEOs in Africa across industries, whether it's in the media where we play, for example, or in finance, or in tech, telecoms, education, health, what have you? What makes the biggest CEOs? Is it because they were born into wealth, into affluence? I mean, for the most part, you check their background, where they're coming from, where their lives have been the last 30, 40 years. I mean, I saw one of them post an old picture while he was in service as a copper, all right, how he was sharing a bottle of soft drink. Of course, I don't want to mention brands, with a friend. I mean, this was just them, I think they just got out of camp or something. This picture was taken in the 80s. But today is one of Africa's biggest giants in the finance space. So what it means is, for young people, Gen Zs in particular, who are looking at him today, they want to be like him by tomorrow morning. But they don't understand what his last 4 decades have been. Do you understand? It's not just in banking alone. It's also in the media. Look at the big names, the household names you hear about in the media today. What did they do to get here? What sacrifices? What were they doing 30 years ago, 40 years ago? All right, so it just means that even for a country, we also need to prioritize. And for a country like Nigeria, I think countries like Taiwan, countries like Singapore should be a model for us to say, where were they in the mid-70s? Where are they 24 years into a new millennium? What lessons has Nigeria learned, yes, from the journey of these countries? I mean, you're talking about the Asian tigers today. You're talking about 20 biggest economies or 20 fastest growing economies. Is Nigeria within the bracket? Why isn't Nigeria within the bracket? What can Nigeria do to get into the brackets? I mean, the list just goes on.
I mean, instead of just, comparing, we see a lot of that comparison. We need to compare. Look at this country. Look at Taiwan. Look at this country. Look at China. How about we begin to look into their process? How did they get there? What did they do? What did they have to put in place?
Right.
Instead of just the comparison. And that's where a lot of people miss it. Like you said, we don't look out for the processes that people have gone through to be where they are.
We pretend about those processes.
We pretend about those processes. But those processes rather, I beg your pardon, are what has shaped, the itinerary or their journey so far
which has led to this outcome.
Yes, the outcome that you see and desire and want to emulate. The journey, the process is what has made them who they are. And we need to begin to look into those processes and, not just, it's easy to just want to wear fine suits, look like them, have a picture of, I wouldn't want to say, it's a facade. You want to have that, that image of, oh, you're successful and all of that without the process. What is success without process?
True. That's the beauty of it. The fact that you can share with young people, for example, what your life was like 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And how you had to pay the price bit by bit to get here.
And you know, you cannot replicate what you did not, what you don't have process for. Yes,
true.
You know, if you just come here
All
like
of a
this, what are the principles that people who want to be like you,
Right.
how do you replicate yourself? And then it's a true success. You cannot really measure true success when you can't replicate yourself. Like you
Right.
cannot, this that you have achieved now, you can't help other people be like that. And if people want to be like you, how do they come about what you have become without, you know, the processes that you have been through, you know,
That's
without
right.
them, you know, having to go through that process. So you cannot, I feel like success is no success if it cannot be replicated.
Right. So if
What's
you don't
the
have,
essence?
there's no success without successor, right? It's
Yes,
not
exactly.
actually success.
It's not actually success.
Right. So let's talk about food for a second, because like one of my friends would say, it is what is in your tummy that controls what's in your head.
Oh,
All right.
really?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where I got that from, but it just resonates in my head.
What's in my tummy? What's in my tummy now?
Well, I don't know.
There's nothing in my tummy. So
All right. So, but your sound mentally on the show this morning. All right. So let's bring you taste and texture.
Hello and welcome to another episode on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatimi Abba Umar. Tom Brown is a locally made meal that is usually used to wean babies in Nigeria. It's a thick powder gotten from a combination of yellow corn, millet, guinea corn, cereals, groundnut, peanuts, and soya beans legumes. This healthy powder is healthy, nutritious, and filling, maintaining your baby's health even after you've stopped breastfeeding. It's one of the popular Nigerian meals used to wean babies, although it's majorly prepared for and consumed by babies. Tom Brown also serves as food for adults. This is because it's easy to prepare, basically under 5 minutes. This helps adults cope with their busy schedules and early breakfast. The ingredients for making Tom Brown powder: 1. Millet 500 grams. 2. Guinea corn 1 kilogram. 3. Yellow corn 1 kilogram. 4. Soybeans. 5. Deshelled groundnuts, peanuts 200 grams. Optional ingredients are crayfish 1 cup, ginger 1 handful, dates, sweetener also known as dabino 1 handful, cloves, kayan kanshi 2 tablespoons. And now, let's make Tom Brown powder. 1. Put your grains in a separate tray and carefully remove the stones and foreign particles. 2. After picking out the stones from your grains, wash them separately and spread them out to dry in the sun. 3. Pack them in separate bowls once they are completely dry. 4. Toast your corn using a wide frying pan. Be careful not to fry too much, to a point where it begins to pop like popcorn. 5. Also toast your groundnut, millet, and soybeans separately till they become golden brown. 6. After toasting, spread your grains and allow them to cool down. 7. The next step is to remove the outer shell seed coat, also known as chaff, of the soybean. You can do this by grinding it softly in with a mortar and pestle. 8. When you're done grinding, shift the chaff away by breezing it out, then pour it into a suitable bowl. 9. Next thing is to grind your crayfish, ginger, and kayan kamshi. You can either use a mortar and pestle for this or you use a blender. Put it inside a bowl after grinding. 10. Now you need to grind your dates dabino as well. Break them open and remove and discard the seeds inside first. Then crush the outer fruits with a blender or mortar and pestle. 11. Pour all your ingredients in a bowl and mix them well. 12. You can blend this mixture with a high-power blender at home or you take it into a local mill to blend. Do not add water while blending. 13. After blending, pour your powder on a wide tray and allow it to cool down completely. 14. Next thing is to sieve your mixture to remove any residual chaff. This leaves you with a smoother powder. 15. Voila! Your Tom Brown is ready. Just store it inside a sealable container and prepare it anytime you want. Now, let's make it. 1. Measure a quantity of Tom Brown powder in a bowl. Add water gradually until it becomes a pastry mixture. Be careful not to add too much water. Secondly, put some water in the fire and allow it to boil. Pour in your Tom Brown paste once your water begins to boil very well. 3. Stir continuously until Tom Brown attains a custard-like texture. 4. There you have it. Your meal is ready. You can fortify it with milk and fruit purees to make it even more nutritious for your baby. That's all for now. See you same time next time for another interesting and sumptuous episode of Text and Texture. I remain your host, Fatimi Abba Umar. Bye.
Thank you, Fatima. It's the first time I would see the process of making Tom Brown. It's quite interesting. First of all, I love the ingredients that make up the entire thing, and it's very beautiful. You were salivating the whole time.
Oh yes, obviously I love Tom Brown. I haven't had it in like a year now, but I know I used to have it when I was in school.
So you want to celebrate your 1 year anniversary by having it today for maybe
I don't think it's worth celebrating for not having it for 1 year.
Or you want to break the jinx?
Yes, I want to break the jinx. I most likely would, have it sometime this week.
Okay.
Or next week.
Right.
Yes. So because it's rich, you see the ingredients. It has a blend of protein, carbohydrates, and vital nutrients as well. But here I see that in this recipe, it doesn't have because I make mine with guinea corn, like the red guinea corn that you see, and then I use ginger as well. So you can kill in ginger.
I love the ginger part. I'm a huge fan.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah. So it gives it this. Unique, this ginger-like, taste.
And you feel it all the way down your throat.
Yes, you feel it down your throat. So it's not just, I wouldn't say bland because it has flavor, obviously, from the groundnut and all of that. So yes, and then I also learned that it's good for weight gain. So if you're looking to gain weight, I think this is good.
This one option to consider.
Yes,
right?
And then one thing that people do is when they say a product is good, it helps you gain weight. You have to factor in food as well. You must eat other kinds of food and not just depend solely on
one kind of food.
This particular kind of food because it helps you gain weight. So you must balance it with
So do people still even talk about gaining weight? I thought the trend is about losing weight. I mean, every worry Peking comes to mind at this point.
Okay, yes. So there's a trend. People talk about gaining weight, but healthy kind of weight, not overweight. And then you don't want to gain weight that would now cause you some health challenges or conditions.
Now or in the future.
Now or in the future. Just a bit of flesh, Like me, I'm a huge fan of people that are chubby.
Right.
But if it poses a risk to my health, I will now begin to look for ways to work out
to fix it,
and balance it. Yes.
Yeah, working out, that's a great idea. We're going to talk about business in a bit. But then, Queen, you and I have followed business for a while, the last couple of days in particular, and we see what the FX market has been like. But that is something we probably should talk about in detail on Business Points later on today. In the meantime, here is Kikelamo Okere with Business Roundup.
Hello and welcome to Business Reports on Global Morning. The International Monetary Fund says the high inflation in the country is a major source of hardship for Nigerians. This was said during a press briefing at the World Economic Outlook update at Sandton, South Africa. Daniel Lee, IMF Division Chief, Research Department, also noted that Naira weakness is contributing to the rising inflation alongside structural factors such as financing of deficit by the Central Bank of Nigeria. He added that reducing inflation is a top priority of the country. Lee says bringing down the inflation is a top priority of IMF, adding that Central Bank of Nigeria has already raised interest rates significantly over the past years to 18.8%. Saying the monetary tightening is helping in the forecast to bring inflation down from 24.6% in 2023 and to 23% this year, and then closer to single digits into 2025 at 15.5%. Adding that on top of the conquering inflation through the monetary tightening, there is also need to provide social support through the budget. He noted that IMF perspective is to improve revenue mobilization, strengthening revenue administration, widening the tax bases will enhance development as well as safeguarding fiscal sustainability. Some capital market operators have cautioned that quoted companies burdened with foreign liability or heavily dependent on imported inputs could face a downturn in 2023 dividend payouts to their shareholders. The operator stated that following the free fall of the naira arising from the harmonization of exchange rate attributed to this potential decline to the amounting pressure on profit margin resulting from the current economic climate. They highlighted those enterprises boasting substantial net foreign assets or those primarily reliant on local sourcing of inputs, along with products exhibiting elastic demand, may be better equipped to withstand the challenge posed by the depreciation of naira. They noted that such companies could potentially maintain or even exceed previous dividend payouts despite the prevailing economic headwinds. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has commenced discussion with a South Korean consortium led by Daewoo E&C to top gas project in Nigeria. In a statement by Oluwafemi Shonenye, Chief Corporate Communication Officer of NNPCL, revealed that the discussions in Seoul, South Africa were focused on strengthening NNPC Limited commitment to tap into Nigeria's abundant gas reserves and become a global supplier of clean and affordable energy. South Korea, a major hub for liquefied natural gas export, expressed interest in partnering with consortium and the Korean Export-Import Bank. They aim to further explore investment discussion in greenfield projects and other gas development opportunities in Nigeria. According to Shonenye, the ongoing talks are expected to culminate in formalization of Memorandum of Understanding facilitating strategic foreign direct investment. This initiative aligns with the policies of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, which aim to make Nigeria an attractive destination for global investors. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.